guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Benadin, and for today's video we're going to be doing another sunscreen review. Today we'll be reviewing the Scinic Enjoy All Around Airy Sun Stick. This is an SPF 50 plus, PA of 4 plus, and it says that you can use it on your face and body. It is a Korean sunscreen, and they claim that it is airy and convenient sun stick to use anytime, anywhere. I have two sunscreens here, and you're probably like, what's the difference? There is no difference. I realized that after I did the full review. I was like, wait a second, this is the same product, just one's in a bigger stick and one's in a baby stick. But it's literally the same thing. The ingredients are the same, the finish is the same. The difference is obviously the size. This one is 25 grams and then this one is 15 grams. I would obviously say go for the bigger size, more bang for your buck, is that the expression, versus getting the mini one. But if you're looking for a really small size sunscreen that you can throw in your purse without having any issues, then get the small one, obviously. When I'm talking about the ingredients, talking about the finish, I'm talking about both. Same thing. Let's start out with the active ingredient in here. This is a chemical sunscreen. They're pretty standard chemical sunscreen filters: octocrylene, octinoxate, uvinol A+, octisalate, and tinosorb S. So some other nice ingredients in here. It does have some antioxidants. It's got green tea extract, argan kernel oil, and licorice extract, which is actually a skin brightening ingredient. I don't know how much of it is in here to really help with that, but it does have that in here. It also has some other soothing ingredients in here, like white willow bark extract and then aloe vera leaf extract, and again that green tea extract is going to be soothing as well. The first few ingredients in here are dimethicone and silica, so it is going to give you that balmy silicone slip type of texture. So I wore this one on bare skin and with a moisturizer and then underneath makeup. I don't think I tested it out over makeup, so we'll do that here before we end the video. I'm wearing makeup right now, so we can just apply it over and see how it goes. Day one, I wore it without a moisturizer, and application was pretty easy. Just like any other sun stick, I just kind of swiped and went. With sun sticks, I like to put on about 2 to 3 layers just to get coverage, and I also applied this one on my eyes. Initially when you put it on, it might look like it's a little bit mattifying, but then once it settles in, it's a natural finish, not glowy, not greasy. If you're looking closely at the footage, you'll see that it also kind of blurs out some of my pores, which is nice to have if you have textured skin like myself. But I will say that upon initially applying it, again, it was giving me that balmy silicone type of texture, and so it's not necessarily greasy, but you are going to feel that balmy residue on your fingers if you touch your face right away. And then after 15 minutes I went into window lighting, and this is what it looks like. Again, it's that natural finish. I felt like there was still a bit of a residue in some areas, and in some areas it did dry down pretty well. So after 2 hours wearing it, this is what it's looking like. I'm a little bit greasy in my T-zone, so I went ahead and blotted. I do have oily skin, so some grease and oil is expected, but I was a little bit shinier there than I would like. I went ahead and blotted and reapplied. With the first application, it's pretty lightweight. It doesn't feel heavy at all, but then when you add more layers of it, it starts to become a little bit heavier, and it starts to feel a little bit like pore clogging, I think is the best way I can put it. But it looked fine. It didn't look shiny or anything with the reapplication. It just went back to that nice natural finish. I think this is the best way to wear this sunscreen. I personally wouldn't wear it with any other products under. I would just wear it as is in the summer months, and it would work well that way. So day 2, when I wore it with a moisturizer, just in case. People with dry skin always want to know, can I layer other products on top of it? So I wore it with my regular skincare, which is an acne serum and a moisturizer. And I'd say with other products under, it did start to feel a bit heavier. It felt like the sunscreen was sitting on top of my other products versus really blending in and drying down seamlessly like it did with the first day when I didn't have anything else under. So it felt a little bit heavier, but it looked fine. And then after 15 minutes coming back, showing you in window lighting, as you'll see, it looks okay. It doesn't look shiny, it doesn't look greasy, it looks fine, but it did feel a bit heavier. And then as you'll see when I come back 2 hours later, I am looking about the same as the first day, a little bit of shininess in my T-zone. It felt a little bit more slick on this day. If I ran my fingers across my face, you could still feel the sunscreen even after 2 hours, so it wasn't fully settling in. So I definitely had to blot, and then I reapplied with it, and I went back to that nice natural to sort of matte finish. So the difference between day 1 and 2, when I had nothing on my skin and I put the sunscreen on, it still felt lightweight. It still gave me that natural to kind of matte blurring finish to it, but it was able to dry down a little bit better and there was less residue. But when I added some other products and then put the sunscreen on top of that, it felt like the sunscreen kind of just sat there. I was experiencing more of that balmy, slightly greasy feel to it. As far as the blurringness that it did, you know, initially when I put it on, it felt like my pores were kind of blurred. It stayed there for a little bit, but then once the sunscreen starts to settle, the blurring effect is pretty much non-existent. It just becomes like a natural finished sunscreen. And then the last day I wore it with makeup, and as you'll see, I put my sunscreen on, let it sit for a little bit, and then put your other products on top. So that's what I did. And my makeup turned out fine. It looked okay. I felt like I had to add a bit more powder. I think makeup applies nicely on it, but then it doesn't stay. Like, it feels like my products just were moving and were like, if I touched my face, I had more product coming off of my face than I really like. There was a lot more transfer. That's the word I'm looking for. There was a lot more transfer with this sunscreen than with some other ones. So I ended up using a bit more powder to get it to stay in place, and a bit more like setting spray to get everything to settle in. But it looks fine. It applied fine. I didn't try this one out on top of makeup, but we'll do that now. Should we do the little one or the big one? Does it matter? Let's do the big one so you can see. So this is what we're looking like before. I got a nice little pimple right on my nose. Love that for me. And one swipe. Do you see much of a difference? Oh, that's one swipe. So we're already moving a lot of products across. Don't know if you guys can see that very well. So we're just gonna keep going. I'm just gonna do it on this area, so you guys can see this side by side. So you can really see my bronzer here. And here, I feel like it just kind of all moved and shifted back a bit. And I'm getting quite a bit of residue on here. It's kind of moving to the edges. That was one layer. We're gonna do 2 layers because that's what I would normally do. Like I said, I'd shoot for 2 to 3. So as you guys can see, my products that were on some of these like dark spots that I have here have definitely moved. I don't know if you can tell. Can you tell? I can tell. They've definitely moved. You can see my mole a lot more. You can see some of these spots right here a little bit more. It actually doesn't look that bad on here, but I think what happened is it's not transferring as much onto the sunscreen stick, but it is moving everything. So that being said, I wouldn't necessarily recommend using this to wear over makeup, and I feel like I would need to go in and set with the powder because I'm feeling the residue and I don't like that. Now I'm gonna give you guys my overall thoughts, who I would recommend this for. I'd say if you have oily skin like myself, I don't know if you necessarily like this. I was able to tolerate it when I didn't have any other products on my face. So on bare skin, I was able to put this on and it worked fine for the first layer. I definitely would not reapply with this. Maybe if you had another sunscreen and you used this to reapply over it, that could work, but I wouldn't wear this as your first layer and then reapply again with this, because the more layers you put on, it started to feel a little bit heavier and it felt like the product wasn't really drying down. It was just kind of sitting. So if you have oily skin, I would only recommend it if you're gonna wear it on bare skin. And I feel like if you have oily skin, you'll probably like it more in the winter months versus the summer. If you have dry skin, I think you will actually like this. I think the texture is pretty moisturizing, and even with dry skin, I don't think you'll necessarily need to put other products underneath. I did like that it had that blurring effect for people with more textured skin, but the blurring effect didn't last very long. So if you're someone who doesn't like your sunscreens to have that silicone balm texture to it, you're not gonna like this one at all, because that texture, it does go away the longer you wear it, but it's still there. You'll still feel it at the end of the day. If you have acne prone skin, I think you should be okay. I don't necessarily think this caused me breakouts, but I do think that it did kind of slightly clog my pores a little bit after wearing it for a couple of days. So make sure you're really double cleansing, which I do normally. I just noticed that by the end of the day, kind of in my nose and then right here, it just looked like my pores were filled. I don't know how else to put it. If you have sensitive skin, I didn't have any irritations to this one. No, it doesn't have a fragrance to it, so if you're sensitive to fragrance, this could work for you. And then my actual skin, I didn't have any sensitivities or irritation to it. I do want to say though that I have been reaching for this for my body, like my arms and my chest, mostly because of this little tiny size. I have been keeping it in my purse and just like rubbing it on my hands and my arms when I'm in the car and I'm in the sun for a while. It's just nice and convenient. So I do like it on my body. If you're looking for a body sunscreen in a stick form, I think this could work for that, but I didn't necessarily love it for my face. So those are my thoughts on the Scinic Enjoy All Around Airy Sun Stick. If you guys have tried the sunscreen stick and you liked it, let me know down in the comments. If you tried it and you hated it, you're like, not for me. Also let us know down in the comment section below. Don't forget to leave your sunscreen recommendations as always, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye.